In August of 2021, Wargaming announced this. The Sturv K was the first ever Tier 9 premium in World of Tanks. Now, I'd be lying if I told you this was some super OP premium tank that killed Tier 8. But it did start a trend. Since then, and this has really sped up post 2.0, Wargaming has released more and more, better and better Tier 9 premiums. Now, don't get me wrong. I do genuinely enjoy playing my Tier 9s, but ever since they've been added, it feels like the spotlight has been shifted off of the Tier 8s. Especially in the circles of better players, you almost never hear about the Tier 8s being played, besides the SVAC, but I mean, that might as well be a Tier 9 anyway. I mean, it's not like Wargaming's helped with that. What have we gotten recently? The Albi Chrysler MTB? Fuck off. Anyway, that kind of rubs me the wrong way. You see, Tier 8 has always been one of the most enjoyable tiers for me to play. Even to this day, my highest played tank is the 7032. It's a Tier 8 premium. So recently I decided I kind of want to try Tier 8 again. I used to do this thing. Anytime I would need credits, I would look for a Tier 8 premium to 3 mark. I did this with the Barask, SU, Mod 1, 703, fucking Alpine Tiger. Look, you get the point. But I hadn't done this in a while because, you know, I want to play my shiny brand new Tier 9 premium. Or the Rambo again, but it's actually really good. You should probably check it out. So when I noticed that I had the Progetto 46 sitting in my garage at like 90%, I mean, might as well, right? And you know what? Playing Tier 8 was actually one of the most enjoyable experiences I've had in World of Tanks in quite a while. There were so many close games that I personally had to carry. I was truly enjoying playing the game, so I want to share it with you. First, I'm going to show you a few of these close games that I was talking about. I'm going to walk you through my thought process, how I played, why I made each play, and where the Progetto itself really shined. And that should lead very naturally into the 3 mark, as all of these games were played when I was trying to get the mark anyway. And then I think I want to throw in a little bonus Tier 8 game, as I do have one that I really want to show off. So here's how this is going to work. I have 3 games that I'm going to show you, and they're going to go in chronological order of when I played them. The first game is, well, just that. The first game I played in the Progetto in a very, very long time. And while this is the lowest damage game that I'm going to show you, it's also the game that made me fall back in love with Tier 8. Alright, so I start out very passive because my entire team is sitting on that little middle ridge, and I assume that they're going to spot something for me to shoot. It then, however, becomes very obvious to me that I'm not going to be getting much damage from this ridge, and I have to rotate out. Luckily, there are a couple people willing to give me damage. Looking at the map, it's pretty easy to see that castle's being overrun, and luckily that is a very, very defendable flank from my position. So it may be a mistake to dump my clip here, but I honestly didn't think that they were just going to be sitting out in front of me like they are, and I wanted to guarantee at least a little bit of damage. This shot hit someone blind, by the way. My LTTB moving up means that the score is now 1-6, and the only person on my team that I know is guaranteed to be capable of spotting is me. At this point, the G-Sor has moved far enough up that I can't safely double bush to shoot anybody, but he's also not poking because he's not spotted. This means I can get out for free, so I go to do that. Now that I can wrap around this hill, I'm in a much safer position, so I can shoot and get spotted without really worrying about just exploding. Unfortunately, I do make a misplay and back up too far, and the SU-130 on the enemy team is quick to punish me. But the SU being on heavy flank means I'm free to wrap around the hill and start shooting his teammates. Unfortunately, my teammates then push one by one into the camping tank destroyers. Yeah, at this point, it's just a matter of time before the Scorpion dies too, so I'm headed to the back. And now, well, it's just a waiting game, isn't it? The way it currently is, the enemies have way too many guns, way too much HP, and way too much map control for me to be able to push. So obviously I'm going to cut this, but a minute goes by here, and at this point I'm thinking, it's been a while since this Ares killed the Scorpion. He's probably pushing, and he's most likely going to be pushing through heavy flank, so that's where I look. My Lancer then gets rushed, which gives me more chances for free damage. Now here's the funny thing, I could have actually just let this Lance and die here. I'm fairly certain that I could win the game alone and get a Kalabanovs, but I mean, I'm not a terrible teammate. And now because I took out the enemy pushing his side, he's able to win his fight. Once this Pantera goes dark, I'm almost positive that he's retreating all the way to his back ridge, because he just watched all his teammates die and he's not just going to push in. That being said, it leaves the river completely open for me to flank. And guess what? I was wrong. But the river flank was absolutely still the correct play. And with this RHM being on low HP, it's just a matter of cleanup. At this point, I was hooked. I truly enjoyed playing that game, and I knew I needed to 3-mark the Progetto 46. You know, it's such a common thing to hear when you talk about tier 8 is, oh, what if you made a tier 10? What if you're bottom tier? Man, just shut up and watch me fuck up tier 9 and 10 heavies with my standard ammo Progetto 46. This is a position I go to in almost every tank on Glacier, because you always get shots on people trying to play the middle here. You also get shots on people going into heavy flank, so it's just overall a really good position. The goal when playing against higher tiers in a tank like this is to use your teammates' HP and get off angles. I can see that nobody on this enemy team is ready for me to poke, so I could just go up and get some free damage. I then, however, notice that there is nobody from my team on south. This leaves me completely exposed and means I have to rotate towards heavy flank. I could have stopped in the middle here, but honestly, I think I have better chances to do damage poking with my team than going hull down. I can see my teammate poking this corner. That means that there's nobody on the enemy team poking the corner, which means I'm able to sit here for free. If anyone on the enemy team wants to poke, they're gonna have to first eat a shot from me. Despite having no armor, this is a completely safe play. This is where I make the riskiest play of the game. I'm gonna follow my E100 despite the fact that if they overrun us, I'm absolutely dead. I do this because I'm not gonna get much damage sitting in the back. I also reload gold, but I only have 9 shells. Poking like this isn't completely safe, but the chances that he actually hits and pens me are very, very low. At this point, it's playing off of enemies' reloads. It doesn't matter how big and scary they are. If they fire, they cannot hurt you. Once heavy flank is won, I know I have to get way ahead of my team if I want to get more damage in this game. It's games like these that make me not hate +2 -2 matchmaking. I mean, I had to play completely different because of the tanks I was facing. It made me think more about my positioning, what I'm shooting, what I'm looking at, and how I could get more damage. Game 3 was actually one of my favorites that I had played in this session. In the beginning, I go to this hill position to get shots on any heavies crossing or any TDs who happen to get spotted in the open. Unfortunately for me, I found the world's sneakiest T-32, so I did not shoot him going up. At this point, there are so little people spotted on hill that I feel comfortable just pushing up and flanking. After winning hill and getting shots on the people below, it's time to push up, and once again, I'm trying to get as far in front of my team as I can to get the most damage and spotting out of this game. My team now seems very convinced on pushing up themselves, and I see how many people they have camping in the back. I'm just gonna sit here and snipe whatever does get spotted. Once again, right now it's just about moving around and finding different opportunities for damage. With my last teammate in the forest dying, because obviously, I mean, what are we pushing? It becomes a much more dire situation, and now I have to play passively and try to spot as much as I can. I actually end up making a massive misplay here. I know that I'm spotted. You can see I move before the sixth sense, but I just don't do it fast enough. I'm hoping that I'm not before I come to my senses, and that ends up punishing me very severely. The enemies are becoming much more aggressive. Luckily for me, this position is very, very powerful. At this point, I don't know where the AMX is, but I have a sneaking suspicion that he's sitting right in front of me. So I poke up just enough that only that would be able to spot me. And sure enough. And so I tell my team just that. And them, being the legends that they are, actually fire at the bush. With the AMX dead, I'm able to poke much more aggressively, but I'm still spot checking to see if anybody can actually see me. Getting lit gives me information. The SVAC hasn't been seen since the very start of the game. This means that it's only the Chimera or the Standard B who could have lit me, so now I have to narrow down the options. By poking and not getting lit, I know that it's most likely the Chimera who is poking over the ridge. They, however, then decide to push, and I'm able to punish that. I can drop down to shoot the enemies on base from this position, making it even more powerful. I then sit up in the bush for a bit longer and spot the standard B, but nothing really happens. My teammates are then able to push up, and I support them as best I could. Another minute passes, which, I mean, it's Mali, they're camping, whatever. I'm not going to show it to you. But then I decide that I'm able to wrap under and see if I could find anybody. This isn't a super safe play, but I'd honestly rather lose than draw. What's the point of sitting in a bush for 15 minutes? I then retreat to get unlit, and then go look for the areas while my teammates cap. We end up capping out, which normally I'm against capping, but in this situation, with this little HP, and he's hiding, I'm okay with it. We end the game with just under 5,000 damage and 1.3k spotting, and this puts me very, very close to the 3 mark. And sure enough, the next game... I think that's it. Damn, I really should have aimed that one. Whatever, I think that's it. Let's see. Yep, it said 95. I saw it. Let's go. Yes, sir. I got the 3 mark. This was a tank that I had sitting in my garage at 2 marks for a very, very long time, so I was happy to do this. Now, I did promise you a bonus game, so here it is. And I'm in the SVAC, so you can already assume that this is the highest damage game I'm going to show you in this video. The SVAC is a very good tank. Why? Well, that's why. Nah, look, I'm gonna assume you guys already know what the SVAC is and that it's completely broken, right? The problem is, the first half of this game was pretty boring. Look, we just skipped 3.5 minutes. Couple minutes in, here's the situation. We've completely lost heavy flank, and we've pretty much lost this flank as well. I am full HP, however, which means I need to play more aggressive to win something on this map. Thankfully, I'm able to do just that, which gives me a safe opportunity to go back and try to defend the heavy push. Couple minutes later, and here they are, pushing the outside. The goal here is to farm as much as I can while they push in. After killing the Chrysler, I'm free to push in. That shot is exactly what makes the SVAC so broken. I'm going full speed, and I don't even have to stop to aim, because I could just pre-charge, and while I'm driving, the circle gets so small. You can also see that I'm always pre-charging when I poke around corners in the SVAC, but that's pretty standard. This is by far the highest damage game I've shown you this video, and it was also just the easiest to play. This tank is so broken, it's unbelievable. But yeah, I mean, that's it. I 3-marked the Progetto, and the SVAC is broken. T-Rate is fun, and you should probably play it again. Alright, that's it. Yep, that's, like, comment, and subscribe, or whatever. Bye.